Welcome back to Nothing to Say, the Fans Podcast, episode 151. Before we get started, thank you all for tuning in. We always really do appreciate it. I hope you had a great week. Sorry for the late episode this week. But we're going to switch it up a little bit. Today is going to be, at least the first half is going to be primarily focused on the NBA, as we have not talked about our beloved Sacramento Kings in a while. But before we get started, Sam, how was your week? 40, 50, 60-hour work week still?
Yeah, it was a little tough. I got to tell you something off podcast that I completely forgot. But we don't have to talk about it here. Super anticlimactic, great podcasting right there. But you just got to leave them wanting more, I think, at the end of the day.
Exactly. I do have to, I have to say, and it is because he officially made it public, we have to, I know that we congratulated him already, but our show has not congratulated him. So our friend of the show and one of our absolute best friends, Ben Welker, just recently got engaged to his lovely girlfriend and now fiance Anjali. So congrats to both of them. I sent a message to the Sacramento Kings on social media. I asked for a beam lighting for them. I never got a response. I was pretty upset.
Let's wait for the wedding. Let's see if it comes in.
That's true. That's true. So congrats to Ben and Anjali. I asked Ben if he could be on the show today. I asked if he was free, but I think he's a little bit busy. So we'll try to get him on within the next couple of weeks, because we definitely the last time I'm sure that we had been on the show, it was probably talking about the Kings in a negative way. So it'd be nice to have him on the show so we could collectively all celebrate the Sacramento Kings. And as a matter of fact, let's do that right now. So let's roll the intro for Keeping Up with the Kings. All right. So the Sacramento Kings right now, we are filming this Wednesday night. So the Kings just played the Milwaukee Bucks. They lost. They are now 13-10. And they are 5th in the Western Conference. I'll just quickly give some thoughts about the game. I think this game for me, and it was something, if you've been watching the Kings, you already knew, but I think it got kind of exaggerated in this game a little bit. The Kings have, I think, one fatal flaw, and I don't think it's going to come up against a lot of teams, because I don't think a lot of teams are built the way the Milwaukee Bucks are, but the Kings are so small, and you can see it against a team like Milwaukee when, they have a lineup that consists of Giannis, Middleton, Brook Lopez, and Grayson Allen's not huge. Drew Holiday isn't huge, but they're just up front. They're absolutely gigantic with Lopez, Middleton, and Antetokounmpo. And I know that, like I said, Holiday's not huge, but he plays like a freaking wrecking ball. He probably outweighs De'Aaron by like 30 pounds, and he doesn't move like it. I think that got exposed during this game. They couldn't secure the rebounds that they needed. They were out rebounded 50-40. The Bucks got 17 offensive rebounds. The Kings only got 8. And then points in the paint, the Bucks had 56. Kings had 48, but still, I think if they come up against teams that are kind of built like Milwaukee, I think those are the teams that they're going to struggle with the most. I know they've beaten the Lakers this year. The Lakers are kind of big. I would say I'm struggling to think of teams who are as big as Milwaukee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, luckily for the Kings, that's really not the way of the NBA. I think you have to really be lucky and have that stretch guy that's able to play like, I think the Lakers are a good example with LeBron, AD. They can go big with another big in there. Not a lot of teams are built like that because of those individuals and what they're able to possess. I just don't think Milwaukee is going to be a great team all year. They pose a lot of threats for everyone. They won the finals a couple of years ago, and they're pretty much playing the exact same team out there. The Kings just can't match up well against it. They've played better defensively, but that's a tall ask for them to go out there against them.
Yeah, literally.
But I agree with you in that they are very reliant on Sabonis securing rebounds.
Yes.
And if he doesn't get it, then that's that's tough. I mean, they are just outside of Sabonis, which is already an undersized big. They're pretty undersized at every position outside
Mhm.
of maybe De'Aaron at point. But I mean, you're playing Kevin Herter is kind of a mismatch. Barnes at the 4 is kind of small against some lineups. Keegan, I
Keegan's only
think,
6'8".
I mean, Keegan's a good matchup at the 3, but when you're so small at important positions in the front line, I mean, a taller wing is kind of tough to make that difference. They gang rebound really well, but
They
when
do.
they come up against that team where there's that big guy, Steven Adams, I think when they played Memphis, just
Yes.
ripped them apart, right? And kind of not dominated Sabonis because I think Sabonis had a way better stat line offensively, but it was like there's just plays where the Kings need that big stop in this close game, and Adams would come up with it, right? Because he's so much bigger than Sabonis. I think that's just something the Kings have to live with because they are a matchup problem themselves.
Yeah, so Adams had 16 rebounds in that game recently against the Kings. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, the Kings can create, like you said, the Kings can create mismatches because they are so small and they're so fast.
Mm-hmm.
They're so hard to keep up with. It's so fun saying that now as a fan because they really do create a lot of matchup problems because everybody in their starting 5 can shoot the ball and can shoot the ball well. Sabonis will take a 3 every once in a while,
Yeah.
and he won't take a lot, but you can't expect. I mean, when he shoots it, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I feel pretty good about it if he's wide open, because he knocks him down more than even more than I realize sometimes. And he's a great passer, so you kind of have to go out there on him. Otherwise, you're just going to give him all these lanes to find people. And because of their speed, because they're so fast, and not only because their starting 5 is so fast, but you sub in Malik Monk, who's just a freaking energizer bunny. Davion
Yeah.
Mitchell will come in and just fly around the court and just kind of wreak havoc. Metu's, he's a big guy, but he runs the floor really well. Trey
Well,
Lyles
he's
runs pretty well.
undersized and he's playing
And
the 5.
he's undersized too. Yeah. And KZ has been getting some run, and he doesn't provide a lot of offensive firepower, but he's good on defense and he hustles a lot. Like when they sub people in, they don't slow down. Like they play the same way. Just the one thing that is, that's a similarity between the starting lineup and the bench. The other similarity is they can't sub in people to get bigger. So
Well, they got
I
Alex
think
Len on the roster.
they do have Alex Len. So I think you're right. I think it's something that they're just going to have to live with.
Mm-hmm. And it's worked out so far. I mean, we've talked about it. They're a good team. I think they spread the rebounds out. I think Fox gets close to 4 a night. I think Keegan probably needs to step it up a little bit more. But Malik Monk, 6 rebounds in tonight's game, which you don't really expect from your shooting guard. I think they team rebound really well, but it's
Very
just
well.
that matchup down low where it's like, gotta help Sabonis out here.
Yeah, it's like playing against in this road trip, playing against Philly. That might be tough with Joel down there. That's going to be a tough matchup for Sabonis. Playing against, like you said, Steven Adams, who's not an offensive juggernaut, but he gets rebounds like nobody else. That might be kind of tough. You go up against Denver when you have Jokic. And
I
by
don't
the way,
mind that matchup. I don't mind that matchup very much.
well, just from a size standpoint, but from an athleticism standpoint, no. Yeah, I think you feel good about Sabonis.
I think
Which, by the
Sabonis
way,
pairs up pretty well with Jokic.
December 27th and then December 28th, there are back-to-back games in Denver, Kings Denver, Kings Denver. That's so weird.
In Sacramento.
Yeah,
right?
back-to-back. Yeah, it's in Sacramento, both games. So
you want to go? To one of them?
Honestly, sure. Are you going to be in town?
Yeah, I'll be in town both those days.
All right, let's do it.
Pencil me in for one of them.
Absolutely. I can make that drive. Um, yeah. So overall, I mean, I think they played well against the Bucks. They hung in there literally until the last like 4 minutes of the game. Last 4 minutes of the game, it just kind of started to get away from them. But they played really well, and I think it's noticeable that the Bucks are probably a class above the Kings right now. But I don't think it's unreasonable to say that later on down the road, the Kings couldn't beat the Bucks. If it was a 7-game series, no, you would definitely favor the Bucks.
I think it's a 5-1 or 4-1 sweep.
Yeah.
It's a 5-game series at that point.
But in terms of the Kings being able to compete with them, yeah, they can compete. I don't think there's a team in the league that I feel bad when they like where I walk into the game going, oh, dude, the Kings are just going to get blown out. I think we're past the point with the Kings where it's like it's not just a hot start. They're a good team, and as a fan, you feel good about whatever team they're playing against on any given night, which is just a nice thing to say.
Well, and the great equalizer is, right? I don't know how a coaching change just makes that big of a difference, but the extra passing and I think that's been a big mantra in Sacramento for a long time because it gets highlighted so much of like, oh, giving up a great shot, giving up a good shot for a great shot. Like, look at that. It happens every once in a while, but it's like every possession with this team, but they're getting it in the paint. Like they're getting wide open stuff in the paint, cutting, different things like that. I wish I'd see it more often, especially with the second unit. I think it kind of stalls and is very Malik Monk dependent. And really relying on Sabonis to really, like, he's got the ball in his hands for 16, 17 seconds on a shot clock in that second unit.
The nice thing with Sabonis, though, is that he runs the two-man game so well with anybody, whether it's Fox or Herder or Monk or Davion. He is just one of those guys where you plug him into a team and he will just be everybody's favorite player because he will set screens for you. He will find you. He's great on offense. He's really good on defense. He played like he's been like my favorite player this year, just from an overall standpoint of what he's been able to do.
It's so consistent.
Yeah. And Malik Monk, oh my gosh, what a pickup that has been. I could argue that he is as important as anybody on the team.
It's incredible. It's incredible what a change of scenery and maybe a reuniting with a former teammate that you have, a friend, close friend has, but just the passion, the enjoyment that guy is having, and I think the confidence that this team exudes. Kevin Herter gone through the biggest slump probably of his career where he went like 2 for 30 from 3. Still putting it up. I still want him to put it up. He went 3 of 6 tonight. Super happy to see that he had that success, but like he has the ultimate green light. Malik Monk takes contested shots, but it looks good every single time. The dude he is that offense on the second unit, and it's awesome to see from a guy that was that touted coming out of college. Right. I mean, this is a top 10 overall pick, and he's really coming through. It really makes you scratch and wonder why LA let him go, because they'd really be using him now.
How much help would he have right now?
And he is underpaid. He's for sure underpaid.
You'd rather have Malik Monk than Russell Westbrook right now, I think, maybe. Yeah. I mean, Westbrook, as of recently, has played a lot better, but I think you'd rather have Malik than Westbrook at the moment. I don't think that's an outrageous thing to say. I'm going to do this right now I'm just going to keep doing this.
That's why I didn't say anything.
That way we know.
You okay? Who was that? Huh? Oh. Okay.
That's a black screen. So that way we're good. All right.
I think the other question I have is, and it's really got to be the thing that's I think needs to be answered. I've seen everything. I need to see the defense is sharpened up. this offense
Mhm.
isn't going away. 3-point shooting hasn't gone away. Even though they lulled a little bit, they were still able to get wins, and really adapted to that, like attack at the paint a lot more, which I love to see. So, what's going on with Fox?
I mean, yeah, he's going through a little bit of a slump right now. Um, I'm not 100% sure. It's tough to say because I don't think he's not. I don't think he's not being aggressive, but I do feel like there is because I feel like there is a little bit of a noticeable difference when he sort of pushes everybody aside and goes, I'm going to win us this game. And I don't feel like I've seen him do that recently. It's not that he hasn't played well, because he's played well, but he's not playing to the level that he was to start the season. And I think it just might be because he doesn't seem to be playing with that I'm going to will us to the win. And I don't know if it's because he realizes that he doesn't have to do that because the team around him is so reliable. But I don't know. I really don't know because, like I said, I can't sit here and say that he's played poorly because he hasn't played poorly. He just hasn't played
Up to his standard.
to yeah to what his I mean, frankly, yeah, to his standard. That's the appropriate word for it.
I think the biggest thing for me, because I like you said, when they're winning and he's putting up 15, 16, I think he's playing really well and really within himself, within the offense, within the flow, not forcing anything. But I think it's the difference is when they come up against these good teams and it's a battle, we need him to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think and we've seen it. We've seen it this year that Fox has been able to take it over. And it might be a case of the shot just doesn't feel right. And
Yeah.
teams are playing him to drive so much to where he just feels like he can't produce. Or maybe it's, hey, you read the hot hand of a Terrence Davis, a Malik Monk, Harrison Barnes has been playing a lot better the last week. A Sabonis, you're running it through. But I think when Fox is on, he is completely unstoppable.
Yeah, he can get whatever shot he wants. So I don't know. I don't know what it's been. I think maybe it's just an aggressiveness thing is the only thing that I can point to of him just needing to go, I'm going to take over this game and you guys will follow me. But again, he hasn't played poorly. I can't sit here and say that Fox is slumping per se. He's just not playing to his standard. And if you want to call that a slump, that's fine. But I think you can only justifiably call it a slump if the play on the court is poor. And I don't think it's been poor by any means.
Yeah.
So they've got a couple tough games coming up. They're on a 6-game road trip. They just played Milwaukee to start it off. They play the Cavs, the Knicks, the 76ers. Those are 3 really tough teams. The Raptors are no joke. And the Pistons, you'd like to think that you could get a win there. So yeah, I think as long they're 13-10 right now, as long as 3-3, I think is what you hope for. I mean, going 500 on every road trip is kind of what you strive for. Yeah, hopefully you snag one or two against. Out of the Cavaliers, the 76ers, the Knicks, and the Raptors, those 4 games, you like to highlight the Knicks and the Raptors and say those are the most gettable. But if you could steal one against the Cavaliers and the 76ers, that would be nice. I think the easier one to do would probably be the 70. I don't know. I think they beat the Cavaliers, but I think they don't match up. I think they match up much better with Cleveland.
Cavs are one of those teams that we talked about, super lengthy with Mobley and Allen.
True.
So they're one of those teams that it's like, man, that's a tough ask, and they got really good guard play. Philly is just not a good matchup for them. I think Embiid could get whatever he wants at any moment, and that's no shot at Sabonis because Embiid is a top 5 player in the NBA. it's really going to be important for them to stop everyone else. I think Tobias Harris has lit up the Kings a couple times in the past. Hopefully Keegan maybe, but he's such a savvy veteran, if you will,
Yeah,
that he gets looks. I don't anticipate James Harden going off.
No, I think they
Really.
can handle James. I really do. I think they've got the players to frustrate him. I think Terrence Davis can frustrate him. I think Davion can absolutely frustrate him. I think Fox, if he wants to, can frustrate him. It's
Mhm.
just going to be a matter of they're gonna have to like double and beat every single time. They're gonna have to because
Or
Sabonis
yeah,
Sabonis is gonna Sabonis might be able to stop him 25% of the time. But the other and that, like I said, like you said, that's not a slight to Sabonis. That's just how good Joel is. They just don't match up well with the 76ers. So between the Cavs and the 76ers, they've already beaten the Cavs. So you'd like to think they have some confidence going into that game. If they stop Joel, which is so much easier said than done, then sure, maybe you say Tobias and James Harden, you guys are going to beat us this game.
I think that that second game of the back to back against Toronto is pretty tough because the Kings looked bad in that back to back they had earlier against
Atlanta.
Boston and Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
They looked pretty
it was the
sluggish.
Grizzlies. They played the Grizzlies and they won, and then they went to Atlanta.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, they won that really tough game in Memphis, and then they just started off super slow, and Atlanta never recovered.
Yeah.
So
So that's tough to on one of those games that you think they should win to just have that extra element of man, this is an East Coast road trip and we got back to back, maybe a tough game in Philly, definitely physical. You could really overlook that Toronto team too.
mm-hmm. Well, I mean, they play 5 games in 8 days, so and you have good teams pretty much on all of those nights. I mean, I know the Pistons aren't an amazing team, but the Kings barely beat them the last time they played.
Hey, Marvin
So
Bagley. Oh, can we really quickly? I think we're pretty much concluding the Kings
yeah,
talk. You want to talk about Buddy Hield and Tyrese coming back?
sure. Quickly, I love that they cheered Tyrese. That was outstanding. I did not understand the blues for Buddies. I know that Buddy um, wasn't always the greatest defender of all time, and he went through a lot of really up and down slumps with the Kings. But there's no reason to boo Buddy Hield. That was odd to me.
Yeah, to me that, and it was every time. It was throughout the entire game.
Yeah, that was weird.
Wondering if he had like comments or something.
Yeah, I don't know. That was strange to me. I loved that they were cheering Tyrese. That was absolutely warranted. Um, but the booing of Buddy was quite strange. I'm glad that Tyrese is playing super well for Indiana. That's outstanding. Um, Buddy seems to be playing well for them. So I mean, good for both of them.
And can we put the talks of who won the trade to bed? Both teams came out
Benefit,
great
yes.
on the other side. I think everyone can look at that. There should be no ill will between Tyrese and the Kings. I think that's just because that's sort of been the thing from this last year of like Tyrese has this grudge against the Kings. But if anything, it should be a huge compliment that he got traded for an all-star in Sabonis.
Yeah. And Tyrese very well might end up being an all-star this year.
Yeah, he should.
He's got absolutely the case to be an all-star in the East right now. So
Most improved player watch too. I mean, there's a lot of things that he's doing. They got Matherin too, who's in the rookie of the year conversation. He looks good. He really does. He's got that.
He's good.
He's got kind of that personality, at least just from watching him against the Kings, he's talking the whole time and he's reacting to a lot of these calls and stuff. I can see him as one of those players I'm not going to jive with as he's in the league.
You know, my least favorite player for the longest time was James Harden, not because of his personality or anything. I mean, not because like I know him personally or think he's a bad guy or anything, but just by the way he played. My least favorite person in the league, my least favorite player in the league to watch right now is Dylan Brooks. Memphis.
Ooh.
Oh my God. Oh man. He just aggravates. I want to punch him in the face every
That's
time.
his job. That's his.
I know he does
role.
it so well, and I'm sure he's a great guy. But on the court, oh my God, I tell you what, he's one of those guys who you hate to play against and just want to rub it in his face when you do something well against him. But those type of players are the people you want on your team.
He's like a Patrick Beverly type.
Yeah, Dylan Brooks has become the guy who I just don't like at all.
I can't hate him. He went to Oregon.
Whatever. All right, that'll conclude our Kings talk for today. We will obviously revisit the Kings next week. We'll see where they stand after their road trip and kind of coming towards the end. The other big, the biggest, I would say, I think the biggest story that happened this past week. We're not going to talk about the games last week because by the time this episode comes out, it's not going to be relevant. But one thing that is relevant is Mr. Irrelevant on the 49ers right now. Which you know what, I'll let you take the floor on the 49ers because what ended up happening with Jimmy G was just, I'm not even a fan of the team, and I felt bad for every 49er fan.
No, I feel bad for Jimmy. The day of, Ian Rappaport reports that the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo are open to reuniting next year. Who would have thought that was going to happen? To where they might even bring him back long term and then sit Trey Lance longer. Like he legitimately won his job back. Mm-hmm. And then boom, in an instance in the first quarter, he's potentially out for the year. Reports are coming in that he could return in the playoffs. Shanahan kind of shot those down and was like, no, that's a long shot. It's just sad. Really, from that perspective, to where this guy had totally rehabilitated his image within the organization, within the league. I think he had major value going into this offseason if you're just talking from a financial standpoint. And now he adds another question mark to his story of like, yeah, talented, can win, gets injured. And this was totally out of his control. But it's just one of those things where guys get injured a little more frequently than others. Speaking of Brock Purdy,
Mr. Irrelevant.
It definitely, I don't think you can sit there and say that it doesn't cap this offense. The fact that Jimmy is gone and a guy that has 0 starts under his belt and has so few of throws. I would have said the same thing if Trey Lance were starting now. I mean, this offense is just capped and limited now. The good thing is, this is probably the easiest run offense in the NFL at this point. Throw it down to Christian McCaffrey, let him do something. Debo, let him do something. They're not even utilizing Kittle very much, and I think that would be a huge asset for Brock as they go forward. I think they're
going to have to start using Kittle more. He's going to have to be a security blanket.
And Ayuk's having a breakout year. I think there's no doubt about it. This is the easiest, most self-explanatory, I think. Like, it's an AI-driven car at this point with what Kyle's doing. But you just know there's going to be 3 to 4 big-time throws that Brock has to make. And is he good enough to make those throws? From what we saw this last weekend, yeah.
He might be.
But you can't. I mean, Davis Mills looked great last year and looks awful this year. Heineke looks good.
Different offense, though. Different offense, different coach, different players.
It's a young quarterback.
True, but
he hasn't seen every defense. Like, there's just a thing to be said that Jimmy offered that much experience to where he's just been through it.
Yeah. So I have really two things to say about this, and I'll start with the Brock Purdy thing. He played well.
Yeah.
I think he played. That's the nice thing when you go into something where everybody has zero expectations for you, because if you accomplish anything, then it's marvelous.
Mm.
And you go out there and it's 25 completions, 37 attempts, 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, threw a pick. But
Mhm.
I think you can excuse the pick given the fact that this dude at the beginning of the season probably imagined that he would never step on the football field with Garoppolo and Lance both being on the roster. So for him to come in and play as well as he did, if you listened to Get Up at all this week, they sort of broke down some of the throws that he made, and everybody on set seemed to be pretty, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky, Rex Ryan, they all were like, he came in and he played really well,
Mhm.
especially under the circumstance, and he made some really good throws. The offense is tailor made for quarterback protection. Whether that be the offensive scheme that they run or the players that they have. Christian McCaffrey, Debo, um, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. They've got so many people who can help Purdy. They also have the best left tackle in the league as well. So Purdy's got a lot going his way, and if he can just be serviceable, then I think the 49ers easily make it to the playoffs. And
I don't think that should be in question. They should make it
yeah,
to the playoffs.
depending on who they play, I think they definitely have a very good shot at least getting past the first round.
Mhm.
So, and then the other thing that I'll have to say is about Jimmy. We all know that he's a fan favorite in the locker room with all the players. Fan favorite. He's a player favorite. Everybody loves him.
I was like, there's no fans in the locker room, so
Right.
that probably doesn't help him.
He's a favorite among the
The
players in the
women
locker room.
love him.
Women love him. And, with how well he was playing, whether or not they were going to bring him back in a long-term deal, who knows? But let's say that they didn't. Think about all of the places that are going to be looking for quarterbacks next year. You think the Jets wouldn't get better with Jimmy Garoppolo? They would get exponentially better.
They should have traded for him
better.
this year. They should have traded for him in the offseason.
Yeah, they would get exponentially better with Jimmy G. And what about the Colts? Colts would be looking for a quarterback. I know it's not a great team. The Texans would be looking for a quarterback.
It's a job.
It's a job. The Commanders might be looking for a quarterback
Saints
next year.
definitely
Who knows?
looking for
The
a quarterback.
Saints will be looking for one.
Panthers.
Panthers definitely going to be looking for one. If they retire, the Bucks might be looking for a quarterback. The Packers might be looking for a quarterback. There are a lot of hell, even the Lions. Who would you rather have as your starting quarterback right now, Jared Goff or Jimmy Garoppolo? I don't know. I think Goff has played well enough to keep that job, but
I think he's having a great year for Detroit.
Right, but it's one of those things where if it became available, maybe.
I think it's so tough to evaluate Jimmy if you're not running the same offense.
That is, yeah. That's
I think it is. It's so difficult to look at what he could do with your team if you're just like, we don't really see him make those throws. Like he's not throwing guys, and it's going to sound like a shot. He's not really throwing guys open, right? It's all designed, right? Which is no slight to him. But I think the Texans need that. I think they need, or maybe they just need stability up top. And we've seen it. Like we have seen him play at a really high level. When he first got to San Francisco in 2017, the dude was lighting it up, making every single throw. So is that still there?
Who knows? Who knows?
Only Jimmy knows. I think to cap this, I am so glad that they did not get Baker Mayfield. I think that would have been awful for this team. I think that would have been a disaster. The dude gets shipped out of Cleveland, goes to Carolina. What is he, last 2 starts? And then it's like, oh man, are the Niners going to go get Baker Mayfield, the best quarterback available? I'm like, please don't. Go get Colin Kaepernick. Go pull Drew Brees out of retirement. Go pull Phillip Rivers out of retirement. Like
anybody but Baker.
Paul Andrew Luck. I mean, he's talking about how he's having regrets. Like, what are we talking? Do not bring in Baker Mayfield. I'd much rather have Brock Purdy.
Yeah. It's funny because when it got announced that Baker got released, that's all I heard was, oh, probably their Panthers are probably doing him a favor right now, just as hey, there's a job that became available.
Why would they? They don't owe him anything.
Well, that was the speculation that I was hearing, and I agree. They didn't owe him anything, but
if anything, they should be like, dude, what the heck? Why did we trade for you?
Yeah.
Like, what were we getting when we traded? We have Sam Darnold. We kept Sam Darnold on our team, and we traded for you to replace him. What does that say?
It says he didn't play well.
Heck, I would have rather had Sam Darnold than Baker Mayfield.
Yes, I agree. Because at least with Sam Darnold, you can say, well, he hasn't really ever been in a good situation. Does anybody really know what Sam Darnold is? I don't think so. I don't think that's fair to evaluate him.
No.
You know what? You know what would have been interesting if they would have traded for like Mitch Trubisky.
Well, they can't. They can't trade for anyone.
They can't trade for him, but like, I mean, in a perfect world, wouldn't that have been interesting if the Steelers were like, okay, we're gonna stick with Kenny Pickett going forward. We're gonna do you a favor and release you.
Is Mason Rudolph still on their roster?
I don't know.
But I don't even want Mason. Like, we've seen these guys not.
It wouldn't have happened. But I'm just saying, like, how fun would that have been? But well. They're definitely going to make the playoffs. Who knows?
Holy cow.
Who knows if Jimmy is going to be back?
They still got to play the Raiders. We don't know if they're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, hey, the Raiders are the hottest team in the league right now.
Exactly. That's scary.
Oh, man. And you know what? The thing about the Raiders, too, and the win against the Chargers was outstanding. Josh Jacobs is the best running back in the league. He leads the NFL in like every single rushing stat. It's kind of crazy. The thing about the Raiders right now is I had said a couple weeks ago that the Raiders are just bad. And I had held off on saying that because they had played a couple games where I was like, they let it slip. Like they let it slip. You look back at those 3 games where they were up by 17 points. I don't think it's an unreasonable ask to say, don't lose those games. If they had not lost those games, God, the season just would look so different. They'd be 8-4, and you'd be looking at the playoffs right now. So
you'd be looking at a division.
I don't think I've come back around to they're not bad. They're not a bad football team.
So don't fire Josh yet.
No, I don't know. I don't know at this point. I really don't, because part of the reason that I think that they've won these games is because their defense has found ways to make stops when it counted. They gave up 34 points against the Seahawks. The Seahawks have a top 10 offense in the league. Whatever. Their defense has been playing much better as of recent. And Josh McDaniels has been leaning so heavily on the run, finally, that it's opened up stuff, I think, for the offense. Like Devontae's having now one of his best seasons. And I think the problem at the beginning was that they weren't using Josh that much. And then once McDaniels realized, oh, Jacobs is actually pretty good, it opens up everything else. And
you think it it clicked in practice, like Josh just made like a cut in walkthroughs, and McDaniels was like, we should call some plays for 28.
Probably run the ball a little bit more.
Wait, come here. Who is that guy? Yeah. That's Josh Jacobs. He's been an all pro. He's been a Pro Bowler. Really? Yeah. Did we just sign him? That's so weird.
Dude, he's coming up. I just discovered this guy. I'm a genius. But I don't know what the stat is, but I guarantee you most of the Raiders wins over the past 2 seasons will have been when Josh has carried the ball more than 20 times. I don't know what the number is, but I promise you their wins have come from when he has carried the ball more than 20 times. So the philosophy change, I do not take back a word that I said about McDaniels for the first couple weeks of the season at all. He made some terrible decisions, it seemed like, from a fan's perspective. We'll see what happens, but they've got a very, very winnable game tomorrow night against the Rams. If they don't beat Baker Mayfield and the Rams, then you will hear me come back on here next week and go, no, they are a bad team.
Man, to lose to Jeff Saturday Colts and Baker Mayfield Rams.
Oh God, that would be terrible. That would be terrible. I don't think they're going to make. I've heard a couple callers calling into a couple shows saying Raiders are going to win out. Look, they can beat the Rams. I think they can beat the Patriots. And I think they can beat the Steelers. The 49ers game just became more interesting. And they get the Chiefs at home. Could you write a script where they win all of those games? Yes. Is it realistic? I don't know.
They have to win out, right?
They have to win out. In order to have a lick of a chance, they have to win out.
What are they right now?
5-7. So they would finish the season 10-7, which that got them into the playoffs last season.
I think they got to drop one.
But we kept saying that last year, right? They have to lose one of these. There's no way they're going to win out and make it to the playoffs, and they did. But here's the thing. Let me ask you. I'll just run through the games right now.
Okay.
Would you favor them against the Rams?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so they're playing at home the next week on a longer break against the Patriots. Favor them in that game?
At home? Yeah, I think they should be favored. Would I be surprised if they lost that game? Bill Belichick versus Josh McDaniels. He's been coaching against Josh McDaniels for years now in practice. Game. I bet he locks his ass up.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But not unreasonable to favor them in that game. Huh?
No.
Okay. The one against Pittsburgh. That one's in Pittsburgh. They beat them last year in Pittsburgh.
That's sneaky. Pittsburgh's been playing better.
They've been playing better. And I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, I still think that they should be favored in that game.
Yeah.
The one against the 49ers, I would have said there's no chance they win that game. None. They're still, as a team, better than the Raiders. But
like head and shoulders.
They're a class above the Raiders right now. But it just became a little bit more interesting now that Purdy's playing. You never know. Pass rush, maybe. We'll see. And then the one against the Chiefs, I don't even know what to say with the Raiders and the Chiefs, because every time I look at every time they play, I go, yeah, the Chiefs will probably win. And then it's always a close game. Like, it is always a close game. The past 3 seasons, they always play the Chiefs hard. So I don't know. Could they beat them? Sure. They have a few times over the past couple of years. Is it likely? I don't think so.
Are the Chiefs even going to play their starters in that game?
There's that too. And if the Raiders are playing for their lives, then you're going to get the Raiders probably playing their absolute with their tails on fire that game. So there's a path for them, but it only works if they win out. And that's just going to be so hard. So I think as a fan, you're sitting there going, I don't know, you just got to take it week by week. And if we get to if they win these next 3, then I think you can cross your fingers and go, okay, because it's the last 2 that I think you're really worried about. It's the 49ers game and the Chiefs one to finish the season. But the other 3, I think you can go, they can definitely win those. And then you'll just see where you are. All right. Well,
I think the Niners just blow them out, though.
We talked about going to that game. I really wish we could.
The tickets get cheaper?
Well, with Brock Purdy playing, who knows? I'll have to.
I bet if the Raiders were to lose, well, it doesn't matter. That stadium is so new in Vegas. There's no way prices drop. They usually drop in price closer to the event.
I'm looking at them right now, and it looks like tickets are about $400. Yeah, they're about $400. So
See Brock Purdy play?
to see Brock Purdy play.
I'll give you this. I think Devontae is going to go for 150 in that game.
He's been going for 150 a lot recently. Let's speaking of Devontae, let's pick these games. We were 9 games deep last week. I won. It would have been what made it interesting was the tie, because then we theoretically could have tied.
That would have been cool.
That would have been fun, but I did end up pulling out the win. So I think now we're tied. All right, so let's go Raiders Rams. That is a Thursday night game.
All right, first time this year, I think I'm going to pick the Raiders.
All right, I'm going with the Raiders as well. Vikings Lions. That's in Detroit. Very interesting game.
I wish I watched the Vikings game this weekend. I'm going to pick Detroit. Pick the high end.
The Lions have been playing so much better as of late. They beat the Giants. They almost beat the Bills. They blew the doors off the Jaguars. And I don't think you trust Minnesota yet. It's so weird to say for a team that's 10-2, right? I think I'm going to go with Minnesota though. In saying that, although I don't trust that pick. But
did they blow out the Jets?
No. So they started to. The first half, the Jets played probably their worst half of football that they played all season. They came storming back, and if Braxton Berrios would have caught Braxton Berrios had a chance to catch a pass in the end zone to win the Jets the game. He dropped it. As it was kind of deflected, kind of dropped. He should have caught it. Had he caught that, the Jets would have won the game.
Whoa.
So the Jets came absolutely storming back.
That's big time information.
Yeah. So I'm still going to take Minnesota, but I think I'm taking that. I don't feel confident in that at all, but I'm going to pick it right now just for parity. Let's go Ravens Steelers. That one is in Pittsburgh. I think I have to go Pittsburgh as well, just because of Lamar being out. Bengals Browns. Maybe the hottest team in the AFC right now against the second week of Deshaun Watson.
Not Deshaun. He's the Cleveland Browns quarterback. You do not mention his name.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's go Bengals as well. Jets, Bills. That's in Buffalo.
Give me Buffalo.
Yeah, I did December in Buffalo. Yeah.
Off a bye. I mean,
they're gonna want to absolutely pile on the Jets. Cowboys, Texans.
They're not off of a. No, they're off a Thursday night. Yeah, they're a long
mini bye. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it one more time?
Probably the biggest disparity of the week. Cowboys, Texans.
Oh, Cowboys.
Yeah. Eagles, Giants in New York.
Philly.
Yeah.
Hey, how about AJ Brown getting the Titans GM fired?
That's crazy.
That's pretty nuts.
Nick Sirianni game planning every play. We're just gonna go to AJ every play just to show them what they missed out on.
Monday meetings. Hey AJ, I know this is gonna be a big game for you. What are you feeling like? Will work this week. Just throw me the ball. I'm getting this guy fired.
Is gonna work for me.
I'm already on the phone with the Titans owner. If I go for 2 tubs, he's getting gone. He's getting fired.
Yeah, he's gone. Titans, Jaguars.
Is Tannehill playing? He is, right?
I believe so. I don't see any injury update on that. It also looks like Lawrence is going to play as well.
That's good. Give me the Titans.
Yeah, I'll take the Titans as well. In that one, I don't see anything right now on the Titans indicating that he won't play, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
Chiefs Broncos. Ugh, that might be the biggest disparity.
Oh my gosh, what is the stat? If they keep teams under, if they were able to score 17, they'd be like 10-2 or something like that.
Something like that. The Broncos offense is just horrendous.
Hey, I don't know why everyone's going at Russ. I only could get like 8 people at my birthday parties. Like, that's not that big of a deal.
Oh man.
Actually, none of the football team came to my birthday party.
Oh man. Gotta be, yeah. I don't. It's tough for me to sit here and say that it's all Russ's fault.
It is.
Wow. Wow. How bad. How much how the tables have turned at the beginning of the season when I went, I can't believe the Broncos got Russell Wilson. Now it's like, I'm so happy they got Russell Wilson.
They should have traded for Gino.
Golly, they should have. Speaking of Gino, they play the Panthers this weekend.
Well, I picked the Chiefs.
I figured, yeah.
Give me Seahawks.
Yeah. 49ers, Bucks, take 49ers, I think.
That's a good game.
It is.
But Tampa Bay is not good.
Stinks.
Give me the Niners.
Stinks on ice.
I think
Dolphins, Chargers.
I think I'll take the Niners.
Okay, good. Dolphins, Chargers.
The Miami
in LA.
The Miami Niners. I'll take Miami. Tua's needs to bounce back. That was a bad game that he played.
Yeah. After opening the game with a 75-yard touchdown pass, just an absolute dart.
Well, yeah, he had 240 of his 290 yards on 2 throws. Like, that just goes to show. And he had 3 picks. I mean, and a
49ers
fumble.
defense is nasty.
Or 2 picks and a fumble, something like that. But yeah.
And then Patriots, Cardinals. Cardinals are coming off of a bye.
That's a gross game.
And they're at home. Yeah, it's the Monday night game.
I can't predict anything that can happen in that game.
No.
I'm gonna go Arizona because New England's offense back-to-back weeks has looked dreadful.
It is pretty bad. Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals as well. So we're only on one game right now, which is the Minnesota Detroit. So we went from 9 to 1. But in all honesty, there are not a lot of games that feel super tight this week. I know the Jets and the Bills, that one might be tough, but if it's super freaking cold in Buffalo, I don't know. I still think the Bills are much better than the Jets. I know the Jets beat them this year. I know they did, but now the Bills lost Von Miller for the season. That's a big loss.
Yeah, that's tough for him, especially with his age now.
Yeah, but I still think the Bills are going to run away with that game. The Eagles Giants could be fun, could be close. The Giants have played everybody tight. I forget what you think about the Giants. They've played everybody really tight. But that's it. I mean, the Chargers Dolphins might have a chance to be good, but I think the Dolphins are a class above the Chargers. I think, to me, honestly, aside from the Raider game, the most interesting game this weekend is the Vikings-Lions game. I really do.
Yeah, this is kind of a tough. Jacksonville, Tennessee might be something.
Could be fun.
But I think I've certainly sold stock in Jacksonville since their start early in the year when I called them the new Cincinnati Bengals. They have not looked like that.
No.
But Tua being named to being up there in the Pro Bowl voting does kind of give me some glimmer of hope that I can still make picks. I want to kind of pick the Chargers, but I've picked the Chargers the last couple of weeks and they failed me.
My MVP vote for Jalen Hurts got a really good boost last week against the Titans. That 380 for 3 touchdowns. I was sitting there. I was like, yes, yes.
I still think
Jalen.
Mahomes. Oh. Yeah, I can't see a game that we switch. I can't pick the Giants. They just tied with the Commanders.
It's fine if we have one. I mean, we had so much disparity last week. Maybe it'll be fun to just let it hinder on one game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there just doesn't feel like one that's reasonable to flip on. I'm just gonna look next week and see what the games are the following week. Oh yeah, so the 49ers Seahawks, that's a Thursday night game. That'll be fun. Dolphins Bills, that's huge. Lions Jets, that feels infinitely better than Jets Bills. Bucks Bengals could be fun. Giants Commanders, that game last week was a lot of fun. So if it's anything like the game last week, then that might be cool. Titans Chargers could be cool. Bears Eagles. Look, I think the Eagles are going to blow the doors off of the Bears, but it'll be fun to watch Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields on the same field together. So, yeah, not a doesn't feel like a super, I don't know, competitive week in the NFL compared to some of the last ones. Not a lot of like marquee matchups, but nonetheless, it still should be fun. So, thank you all so much for sticking with us to the end of the episode. We really do appreciate it. We hope you all have a wonderful week. And a quick recommendation, if you have time this weekend, I would highly recommend going to see the movie The Menu. Bree and I just watched that yesterday, and I cannot recommend that movie enough. That was outstanding. Very, very good. Very, very good. So if you got time, it's only about an hour and 45 minutes, short movie, fun watch. And yeah. So that'll be it for me. Bye.
I'll just wait for it to come out on Netflix. You think I got time to go see a movie? I mean, it is.
I really feel bad for you. Mainly,
I mean, tough out here
for how much you're working, but you're just missing out on good movies. And I know you're a movie guy, and it really just pains me.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I logged into my Disney Plus. Tomorrow, early morning, Oregon v. Nebraska NCAA tournament, college volleyball.
Nice.
And Jen and I can't watch it, even though she is a big Nebraska fan, and I'm obviously an Oregon fan.
Oh, because you're going to be at work.
But it's like 8 a.m. I think. I've been watching the NCAA tournament for volleyball. Good time. Really good time. A lot of high-level players. A lot of good teams. Just if you got time to kill, go watch some volleyball.
Have you been watching the World Cup?
No, that ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that ended like early last week.
Right. Unfortunately.
Is that still going on?
Yeah. I know that Portugal just absolutely annihilated Switzerland recently, but all right. Well, like I said, we're at the end of the episode, and at the end of the good time that we shared. And if it means all the same to you guys, then have a wonderful week. Be happy.